Shop smart, shop S-smart.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of New Bug Foodies.
I am your host, DeathMetalHero, and with me is longtime friend of the channel, and this is the second campaign. This is the second time he's been here on this show, Mr. Vaugh Coleman. What's going on, brother? How you?
I'm good, man. I'm great. I just got back from my second con of the year, my second con selling Phenomenova ever.
Woohoo!
It's been great. It's been people are really responding to it, and
yeah,
it's every time I have a doubt, it's like nope, there are people that want to do it, that want it, and it's been great.
That's fantastic to hear, man. I'm a huge fan of conventions. I love me a convention. I've loved conventions ever since I was a kid. Just seeing all the different vendors, seeing all the different artists set up, and it is such a hot time right now for indie comics, in my opinion. You look at the crowdfunding platforms, you look at like the indie sphere in conventions. People are hungry for good stories. They're hungry for good comics. And every stripe of comic, whether it's superheroes, whether it's sci-fi, horror, fantasy, whatever, people just want a good comic, a well-told story. Because they're not getting that in the in the mainstream comic shops. And I saw that when I worked at my local comic shop, the comic shop I grew up in, basically my childhood comic shop. I worked there for a better part of a decade, and I watched the industry kind of just like faceplant and crumple in on itself.
It's sad.
Well, it is sad. It is sad because I've loved comics. I've loved superheroes. Been a fucking Marvel zombie my entire life, And I see you with your Scott Summers shirt on over there.
But I am very pro Scott Summers.
You like Cyclops, do you?
Oh, love him. More than a lot more than Marvel editorial has for the last however many years.
And they have really screwed him around over the last decade or so.
Decade.
Longer.
Singular.
To be fair, he was the reason why I call him Cryclops, because there was a lot of him bawling his eyes out about Jean during Claremont's run. Let's be fair now.
Hold on. Right, this is where the Wolverine propaganda goes in deep, because who was crying more, Cyclops or Wolverine? How many covers? Ready? Let's go to that X Factor cover where Jean is literally holding a crying Wolverine. Oh, he's on his bed. Oh my God. Meanwhile, Cyclops, people the same, and this is the problem I have, the anti-Cyclops propaganda, and I call it propaganda for a reason, is because you talk out of both sides of your mouths. Ready? Here's what it is. So when Jean supposedly died, it was Cyclops didn't care enough about Jean, right? Because he moved right on with his Sigma excellence. Now you have these same people that say he didn't care enough also say he cries too much. Which is it? Did he cry too much, or did he not care
I've literally got. Listen, somebody made me a collage of X-Men stuff from the Claremont run, and there were literally 6 or 7 different spots where Cyclops was literally crying. So I've got the evidence. I think Scott Summers has been done dirty. For a long time. He's a damn good leader of the X-Men. I just find it funny to call him Cryclops.
No, it is funny. It is funny. Isn't there an iconic Wolverine cover where he's sitting in the corner really sad, though?
When your head's been turned into scrambled eggs and you don't know what's
over a woman.
Well, he to be fair, he's had a lot of women fuck him over in his many years. Granted, he's killed a few of them as well.
Now, you know who had the worst love life, worse than those two? Alex Summers. I did videos talking about it. Man, in 1 year of publication, he had, so in 1 to 2 years, he had Polaris went evil on him.
Lorna,
Goblin Queen went evil on him. That one chick in that Marvel Comics Presents miniseries went evil on him. And then also the Wolverine Havoc meltdown. 4 chicks in 2 years of publication. And then who's his next girlfriend? That Genosian magistrate who hates mutants. Are you kidding? 5
Well, I mean, to be
women.
fair, he was working with the magistrates, brainwashed.
His taste in women is horrendous. That's his kryptonite.
I mean, he's been fucked with too.
Yeah. Well,
I love the fact that you brought up the magistrates, man. Extinction Agenda is one of my favorite X-Men stories ever. I've got the old school trade right here.
Yeah. I'm almost done with Claremont's run. Maybe I'll do some reading tonight if I have time. My time management but I last issue I read was 277. Actually, it's perfect timing because I just read the Savage Land Rogue stuff.
Nice.
For the first time, and then immediately, what's the new issue on the shelf? A callback to Savage Land Rogue, and it was good.
Andrew's doing the cover. Yeah, I didn't appreciate the interior artwork of it so much. I mean, you tease me with this awesome Carrie Andrews cover, and then I get that inside. I mean, it's not terrible. I've seen worse, but I was left a little wanting. I don't know. It's my opinion that sometimes the interior artwork is just it's a little too scratchy. It's a little too vague. I realize they've got a deadline. They're trying to get it out and whatnot, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I would like a little more refinement. I was kind of hoping Carrie Andrews would do the interiors, but yeah. But before we get too deep into this, let's go ahead and say hi to the chat. We got a chat here. There's my lovely, beautiful lady, Skull, gorgeous.
No,
and she says, "Hello, Vaughn."
What's up? And I'll get into it after.
Connor McTaggart says, "Where death metal dies and metalheads decay, can't kill what's already dead." Here I am, live and well. What's up, Iron Oxide? Welcome. Welcome.
Extinction Agenda.
You're in the wrong chats, right?
Yeah.
Extinction Agenda is the tits. I agree, man. I remember reading that like when I was younger, and it blew my tiny little mind seeing this crossover.
Dude, I had other stuff to do those days, and I just I was like, I'll read one issue. Okay, and I blew through it in like 2 days.
Yeah,
I was like that whole event. It was really it was good. I really liked it. I think the one thing that annoyed me, I will say, I think it petered off at the end because it was the second event in a row where the Summers brothers are like, Alex, snap out of it. Okay, now we have to team up together and beat the villain. It was like, I loved both moments, but it was like, we just did the same thing with Mr. Sinister, literally the last event. I do love Extinction Agenda. I think it's good. I would rank the events in terms of like those multi-title crossover events. Because I think that was the last big one of the Claremont era, right? Or there's an annual crossover. I have
because you got Executioner's Song as well, which came after that. But yeah, this was more to do with Strife and Cable, and this was kind of after Jim Lee and everybody that was working on the X-Men books kind of departed to do Image. So this is more. You got Joe Madureira doing the cover here. You've got the Kubert brothers stepping in to do Wolverine and X-Men. I believe Adam was on Wolverine, Andy was on X-Men, and I actually still really enjoy the X-Men books around that time as well.
All right.
I think they were really well done. They had some big shoes to fill, though.
I have 3 issues of New Mutants left to read. I have 98 is my next issue to read. So I have the first Deadpool,
the big one, the classic.
Yeah, well, I mean, my thoughts are, especially post Extinction Agenda, I'm like, no wonder they have to end it. It's not even New Mutants anymore at this point. Like, who do we have left? We have, like, looking at this cover, we have of the New Mutants, the only ones left are Cannonball and Sunspot, and that's literally it. None of the original New Mutants are left.
Well, I mean, yeah, Doug Ramsey and Warlock both bit the dust.
Rest in peace. I'm the number one Doug Ramsey defender.
Back and mashed him up as a single character. Yeah. There's so much cool lore with the X-Men.
It really is. I've been doing videos on it. I want to do a video now that Magic is more popular with just explaining Magic's backstory. I just haven't had the time lately because I've been so busy.
I mean, busy's a good thing, man. That means you're creating, you're making things, you're going out to conventions and pressing the flesh.
Yeah, but I've been doing. I just did a video explaining Savage Land Rogue to people.
Nice.
Hopefully that takes off. But I mean, yeah, man, I love I would say so. It's like what Mutant Massacre, Extinction Agenda.
Mutant Massacre was like the first real big crossover. You know, the X-Men crossovers are what kind of sparked the whole Marvel-wide crossover thing.
It was like Mutant Massacre, Fall of the Mutants. The Loot is vaguely a crossover, though. Like vaguely.
Well, it was kind of a follow-up to Mutant Massacre.
Yeah, then Inferno, Extinction Agenda. I'd have to rank them. I don't know. I don't know what I'd put at the top yet.
Inferno's got that dope Mark Silvestri artwork, so it gets a good vote from me, man. I mean, introducing the Goblin Queen and all that.
Oh
Shit.
yeah,
Mr. Sinister and the Reavers. I mean, that's good fucking quality X-Men stuff right there. Alex VRB coming in hot, saying, "Now who's the gay blonde kid?" He knows I'm kidding. LOL. Yeah. What's up, Alex?
How you doing? And you know, that run inspired me to write comics, man, because I just the constant idea after idea after idea after idea stuff.
Claremont was on fire, man. You know.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do this in film. You know, when I was majoring in that, I can't, especially without selling and I know Chris, you know, obviously, even when he was at his peak, would have editorial interference, but he was able to make stuff work. You know, like Gene was brought back without his permission, you know, and all kinds of stuff. But and so it's like to be able to own that is great. Now that means I have to wear 50 different hats. But you know,
I mean that's indie comics, man. You know, wearing a bunch of different hats.
Yeah, I learned that.
What's up, Eric DeGuapo? Good to see you, sir. And Iron Oxide says, "Follow the Mutants." Hell yeah.
That's one of my favorite moments in the whole run.
It'll make me go back and reread a bunch of old X-Men stuff. Oh no, how shall I ever deal?
Well, you could read the current stuff.
Camel Moon, welcome. Good to see you, dude.
Well, you could always read the current stuff. I'm sure that's fun.
You know what? I've got so many good indie comic books I would rather read. I think I'll go do that instead.
Yeah, that's what my stance is. You know,
man. What's up, Ray? Good to see you, brother. Been a minute. Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope that baby doing well too. The whole fam. But yeah, no, I watched comics, specifically my X-Men comics. X-Men were my favorite fucking books. Wolverine's been one of my favorite characters for decades. You know, and I watched them. You know, Hickman had a good idea with the with the Krakoa era. Like it started out really cool, like House of X.
I liked it.
I liked the initial concept, and then X editorial is like, okay, we're just going to expand this out and completely dilute anything that he had going with it. And Hickman's like, all right.
See, is that what happened?
Fun.
Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah.
Because do we know that for like, okay, so whose idea was it to make the throuple of Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean? Was that Hickman?
I don't believe that was Hickman.
Do we know that for a fact?
No.
Until he, you know what I mean? Like, I can't say that until my whole thing is I was waiting for the reveal that they're brainwashed because I knew they were brainwashed. And I was like, oh, they're not? I'm like, well, these aren't the X-Men.
Well, I mean, they kind of changed the X-Men fundamentally. Again, I feel like it would have been a better what if, you know, an expanded like what if miniseries. A lot of the stuff that, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff that's being put out in main comics right now are what if stories rather than what should be the mainline stories.
Right. Well, and the argument is always that it's gotten old. And I'm like, I'm sorry. If X-Men didn't get old for that many years, I'm supposed to believe that suddenly everything just expired like milk.
I think that people are just uncreative. I mean, Claremont was able to keep these characters fresh and riveting and fun for decades.
Dude, Gambit was one of the last characters he created, like towards the tail. Like I'm reading his stuff, and I'm like, this guy just showed up, and then he has that moment where he's in the cockpit that I just read, and the last issue I read blows up the front of it, like with his card, and I'm like, he's still putting out just character after character after character, and if he has a stinker storyline, there we go.
I mean, it happens. They can't all be bangers, but you got to have the ebb and flow. There's got to be contrast in order to, you know, appreciate the really good stuff. Campbell Moon says they'll fix it by having the 90s X-Men show up and stop the terrible future that is the Hickman era. Sort of reverse Days of Future Past. It could be great if they do it right. I agree, man.
Here's the problem with that, though. This is one of the biggest problems is in the current era, they've retconned and said stuff happened in the past that changes the context of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So if the 90s characters show up as Moira a mutant, is Cyclops gay? Is Iceman gay?
No.
So he
I have a problem with fundamentally changing characters that have been, this way for, decades. Like, make new characters. Bring new people into the fold, bring new characters into the fold. Don't change old characters. That's disingenuous to the history of the character and disingenuous to the fans of that character.
Yeah.
Make new characters. Take the time to actually build them up. That's what we have to do in indie comics. You guys got to do the same thing in mainstream comics. That's always been my stance. It will always be my stance.
And to that point, with Phenomenova, I'm expanding on my main character, but I'm also introducing a lot of new elements. Issue 2 is a deceptively simple issue for me. Issue 1 was kind of I would almost equate it more to, it's building into an X-Men style story, but I would equate it more to like a bit of Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie.
Right.
Some X-Men thrown in there. A couple of things. I mean, people always have conscious and subconscious influences, right?
Of course.
Phenomenova issue 1 was no exception. And issue 2, I would say I pulled a lot from. Actually, surprisingly, like the training episode of Demon Slayer was an inspiration. I pulled from a lot of different things. I introduced a few new characters while expanding on some existing ones. I guess if it's issue 2, everyone, even the old characters are
right.
They're old as they're not old yet. You know what I mean? So everything is still at a point where it's fresh. And I have so many ideas outlined that I think everything will keep going fresh because everything is they're still fresh and there's still stories I want to do. Again, I learned from the masters that came before me on how to keep everything feeling fresh without defying the core of the characters. And that's key. People are like, oh, well, you're saying you just want the same thing over and over again. That was never really the case. It was always evolving while being true to the characters. I mean,
the characters had character arcs. That's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why Claremont's X-Men was so engaging is because the characters had arcs. They grew over time. They became more of themselves. Alex VRB says Iceman was always gay. Thanks, Jean Grey. You can thank Brian Michael Bendis for that shit, Alex. Also, she made Cyclops and Wolverine bisexual. That was Marvel editorial. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean that, and then also because the thing is, there was Mystique and Destiny were clearly gay. I had a debate with this on stream where I was right and everyone who disagrees with me is wrong. Objectively, because Chris Claremont told me so. Those characters were meant to be great, but what does Chris Claremont know about Chris Claremont? He's only Chris Claremont. He only created the characters. But Mystique and Destiny, you know that, right? They were Nightcrawler's parents.
Uh-huh.
They were.
Then why does Nightcrawler look like Belasco?
Belasco?
Yeah, the red-skinned demon-looking dude that also teleports.
He doesn't. He teleports?
Uh-huh.
Ask Chris.
Maybe I will the next time I see him.
You should.
Uh-huh.
I'll ask him too.
They never specified who. They never specifically said Azazel. Thank you.
Yeah, Azazel is a different
Azazel.
character.
Thank you, Camel Moon. That's who I was thinking of.
Well, Azazel was created years after Claremont left and after Destiny was dead. So that doesn't work. You know what I mean? That was a retcon.
Okay.
But also, I mean, those let's see, Bendis, Hickman, and Tom King. I haven't read actually much of theirs.
You know what's funny, Eric? Bendis, when he was doing independent comics, was much better. Like his indie stuff is so much better. Hickman, his indie stuff is so much better than his mainstream shit. Tom King has always sucked, and he will always suck. He is a psyop incarnate. So fuck Tom King.
I haven't read much of his stuff. I don't really plan on it. Bendis, I heard his Daredevil run was amazing though.
Oh yeah, Bendis used to know how to write. Bendis, like the first Alias run for Marvel Max that Bendis did was fucking great. The stuff that he did with Alex Maleev on Daredevil was awesome. He lost whatever edge he had when he became Brian Michael Bendis.
And that's another thing too. It's I think the constant need to prove yourself is what makes stories good. I think that Chris Claremont has talked about it, that it was like the deadlines helped. Because you could argue there were certainly stories where I'm like, all right, where's this going? You know, but the thing is, he had this mentality that if you made a bad issue, you fix it in the next one. Or you fix it down. Like Madeline Pryor was such a mess, but Inferno, I'm like, made it worth it. You know, I'm like, okay. There were a lot of missteps, but it took a while to get it right. But Inferno, I'm like, all right, you got it.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been happening if he wasn't allowed to make mistakes, you know? And that's why it's important to, at some point, get it out there and get the second issue. And look, if people are like, hey, I like issue 1, you can improve on this. Okay, hey, I liked issue 2, you can improve on this. Or I didn't like issue 2. I'll improve for issue 3.
Yeah,
you know? That's how it works.
Again, not everyone can be a banger, but you know, you strive for it. Eric says what Bendis did to Superman should be a felony. That is not the first time that I have heard that. I heard that a lot actually when I was working in the comic shop. Alex VRB says fresh. Vaughn's self-insert character Galavon is totally fresh. He busting all the stank fresh teen age lingo. He got the drip. Bet dat. I have no idea what the fuck I just read.
Neither do I. That is not how he talks.
I think that may have given me a slight aneurysm. Thank you, Alex VRB. What's up, Edwin? Good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here, man.
So, I mean, right now, and I wanted to kind of roll right into it. I actually could have launched in December. I'm glad I didn't. But I ended up going to January. Which people are like, that's the worst month of the year. I'm like, well, if people want it, and here's the thing, I'm going to be campaigning regardless, either whether it's pre-launch. So I'm like, might as well just have the option. And then if like I can't buy it this month, it'll be. That's why I set it for 60 days on Fund My Comic. It'll be of it.
Right. Eric the Guapo says I like this comic talk, and he suggests that you and I should have a reoccurring show.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. I miss this kind of comic talk. This is the kind of things that I would talk with my customers about in the comic shop.
Yeah.
The reason why I love doing shows like this is because it gives me a chance to talk to other nerds like I used to in the comic shop. You know, talk about powers, talk about storylines, talk about what worked, what didn't, you know, being able to have discussion, conversation. I feel like that is, you know, crucially missing these days. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate that, man.
We'll talk. That would be fun. And that's part of why I started live streaming. And even when I started my YouTube channel, I wasn't as into Dyed in the Wool comics back then. I'd read a few, you know, read a lot of the normie stuff, but I would like so excited for the Injustice games. And even like I just watched the new Sonic movie and I've been theorizing and just talking nerd stuff. That's the stuff that A, resonates with the widest audience, and B, it's like enthusiasm is contagious. You know, I've had people even in person go up to me and be like, there's something about like just your enthusiasm that you bring, you know, is
when you are excited about something and you can impart that to other people, that is absolutely contagious. When you're excited about something that you have made because you are looking forward to sharing it with other people, that is exceptionally contagious.
Exactly.
People want to be a part of it because you are so excited about this thing. And Feline agrees with Eric the Guapo about us doing a reoccurring show. So we may have to talk about that, man.
That'd be fun. I was going to do something like that, and then it just kind of evolved. And that's another thing, too. When I don't have a topic, often, or if you do, it just launches into, you know, I don't know. There's always something to talk about, whether past or present.
I agree, man. There's such a history of comics to talk about that, you know, it's always worth talking. I mean, Inkspots and I used to do a show called Do You Even Read? And we would pick a story or a graphic novel or something like that, and we would read it, and then we would talk about it. You know, did a bunch of indie stuff and a few you know, mainstream things here and there. But yeah, let's see. Vaughn has social retard strength. It's like retard strength, but for Riz.
I'll take it.
Okay,
I'll take it.
I'm not exactly sure what all that means, but you know,
I'll take it.
OIA, a little off topic. My airbrush compressor just arrived. Awesome. Well, fucking do some awesome shit with that, man. Airbrush is a cool fucking thing, man. Bip bap boop skibbity dibbity snappity smackity donk donk. How's that for gibberish? That is
incredible.
Absolutely gibberish. Thank you. It made me made me feel like I was talking to you know, what is it, Gen Alpha or whatever the hell they are. I can't keep track anymore. What? My mother was a saint. Jesus, it's a compliment. All right, cool. Good to know. All right. Well, you know what? We're about 25 minutes. Let's go ahead and talk about the book that we're here to talk about. Issue 2 of Phenomenova.
Yeah, man.
And so you just launched it earlier this month.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing up the Fund My Comic page just because I want to support Luke Stone's page here. Indiegogo has proven themselves to not give a single solitary fuck about creators. So I would rather push a website that actually cares. So
I launched on Indiegogo just to see who's there, and it seems like not a lot of people. I mean, it's also January, but let's put it this way: that's an excuse. But the same day since I launched Indiegogo, I've gone up $400 on Fund My Comic and $30 on Indiegogo, and I'm barely promoting the Fund My Comic compared to Indiegogo. What does that say? Maybe it's just my audience.
None. Yeah.
But it seems to me like if you are given the option, even if the hip new thing is Indiegogo, at least in my audience, that they tend to prefer Fund My Comic. Because I was up front before I launched on Fund My Comic that, hey, it'll be available. So it's possible that, look, maybe some of the people that backed it did it because it's first. I don't care. I want to support Fund My Comic. But if you want Indiegogo, that's not a slight. You're more than welcome to. I encourage it back wherever you want. It's also coming to Kickstarter. But
always remember, my opinions are my own and not don't represent anybody, blah blah blah. I speak my mind. It's my mind only. So there you go. Just qualifiers everywhere. But yeah, I'm glad you launched on Fund My Comic. I believe that we're going to be launching Mercenary Guild on Fund My Comic as well. And I like the fact that you have it on Fund My Comic, Kickstarter, and Indiegogo, making it super easy for everybody to get your book wherever they are most comfortable shopping. If it's easier for somebody to do it on Kickstarter, fine. Let them get the book there. I think that's a good idea.
You need to. The customer is right, and that's one of the important things. Also, I make it clear, so I sell books at conventions, but all the variant covers, like with issue 1, will be marked way up in price after and extremely limited. Whatever's so if you're like, I'll wait till after the campaign to get this variant. Well, not necessarily, because they're selling out at cons. Like this month alone in January, I've sold a fair amount of variants. I was like, oh, this will be around for a while. I'm like, well, I guess not.
Well, we only printed a certain number of them, and they're just about gone.
I printed a certain number and then a little extra, mostly just for safety reasons, and then cons and all that. And it's whatever's left over at cons, stacked up. There you go. Lucky if you get it. But the main reason the variants exist for me is A, I want to work with a certain artist because I think it's cool, and B, to help fund the production. And so I give people those options. And Fund My Comic does also have a 4th cover that the other campaigns won't have.
Well, there you go. Alex B says people will go where you push them to go 95% of the time, unless it's really sketch, yo. That's true. And Eric the Guapo says Luke has a mind. When did that happen? Long, long ago in China, I'm told. Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Sorry. I read that and immediately the Pixies started playing in my head. Couldn't help it. A Beautiful Mind. Yeah, right back at you, baby. So I think that everybody, like campaigns, indie comics especially, should have multiple outlets to get the book out there to make it so as many people as possible can get a hold of it. I think that even includes having a standard cover to put on like Amazon, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Razorfist's book, the Ghost of the Badlands. I missed the campaign. I really wanted to check out the book because people were raving about it. I'm not super big on Westerns, but I like a good story. Right. So anyway, I went to Amazon and I got Ghost of the Badlands in the hardcover. I got the black and white version because it seemed like the kind of Western noir thing, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun book, really well done characters. George Alexopoulos does a great job with all of the artwork. It really felt like an old school Western story. I like the fact that I could just go get it, and it was the standard cover. The stuff that you get with campaigns should be the prestige stuff, the extras. You get the bookmarks, you get the pins, you get all the tchotchkes, all that fun stuff. You get the prints, you get an exclusive cover. You get extra stuff in the back of the book, like sketches and stuff like that. I fully believe that that's what the crowdfunding should have. It should be the prestige format for people that want to get it first. For anybody that maybe missed the campaign or wants to pick it up later, doesn't want all the extra stuff, because there are some people that don't want patches, they don't want cards, they don't want magnets, they just want the book, and they should be able to get that, and you should make it easy for them. Why not Amazon? All that worldwide distribution. Might as well use Bezos for something good.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna double check, but because I think I only have a handful of these left, so I'm gonna go ahead and say these are sold out at 2 little cons in New Jersey. In one in Wildwood, which said Beach Town, that was in January, so no one was there. These I had a
that's your bad guy, right?
Yeah, so these mini prints, at least I'll probably make a big one that you can buy for a full price. But if you got this on Fund My Comic with Issue 1, you got it free with your campaign. And then they were $5 at cons. And because
they're gone.
Yeah, so that's an extra reason to back the campaigns.
What's up, Morb? It says, hello, kids. Luke Roxall. Feline is the all-mother. Up to my eyeballs at work right now. Lots of love to the guest. Love his enthusiasm. Fuck yeah.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. We'll be launching Mercenary Guild very, very soon. Next 3 days, according to Brian. So we'll see. I like limited books that are more or less campaign exclusive, special editions for early backers. That way, reprints or less expensive shop editions don't subtract from the exclusivity. Exactly. And it also plays into the collector's market, because let's be honest here. A lot of us are collectors. And some of us are completionists. We like to have everything.
Yeah.
Every cover. And that plays into that whole collector's market as well. It gives people something to chase down, exclusives. So I'm all for it. I think that's the way it should be done. That's the way Brian Polito's been doing it since the beginning of Coffin Comics. He started out doing his Lady Death stuff, and big, thick 48-page book. He splits it in half, does 2 single issues, and those go out to the comic shops, making sure that everybody's able to get them.
And people are oh man, issue 2. One person said when I released the issue 2 cover, I missed the debut costume already, and I'm like, well, if you backed it day 1. Could have gotten this. So $5 at conventions, you get the last couple, and then collector's item, baby. Collector's item. And
exactly,
I'm going to treat a lot of this. Doesn't mean that I'll never use the art again, but they just won't be on this.
Won't be in that format. Exactly.
Yeah. I might use prints of it or whatever, or put it on T-shirts, but. But the main cover I want to stay. Now, eventually once it's a trade paperback. But I'm going to keep printing copies of the main cover. But yeah, there was a first printing of all these. The cover that sold the least on the campaign, because I launched it late. If it was day 1, it might even have been the highest selling variant.
Right.
Was the Buzz cover. I got Buzz. I don't know if you know him, to do a cover for me, and that has been selling like crazy at cons.
Awesome.
Even despite the higher price. So people might, one of my friends I missed it on the campaign. I'm like. I texted him, I'm like, get it fast. He's like, I'll have time to get it. And I was like, yeah, you'll have time. I'm like, actually, you won't.
That's the thing about these campaigns. Don't sleep on this shit. Get it when you can.
Incentivize every action. That's one of the things. I'm not one of those, I want the main cover. That's why I say, if you just want the book, you'll still get the bonuses. If you back day 1, you get the trading card.
Right.
And then whatever stretch goals come with it. So either way, even if you just want the main cover, you still get a first printing.
Right.
You still get it before everyone else, and you still get whatever's. I incentivize, so no matter what, my backers are treated special, right? Because someone at my table was like, "Oh, I like all the trading cards." And I'm like, just so you know, by the way, all these trading cards you got, all this stuff on the table, my backers got free with the book. So if you want all this in the future, you could spend less money.
That incentivizes people at the cons to pay attention to your crowdfunding campaign, so they can get it first.
Yes.
And then they can get whatever, you can even go the route of having, convention exclusive stuff if you want, depending on, whether the market there's for it. But I do want to address what Alex is saying here. He says, in my opinion, Ghost of the Badlands undercut the campaign book a smidge too much, though, which even so might have been fine, but I didn't even know there was going to be an Amazon edition. Not the end of the world, but you should arm backers with knowledge whenever possible. I agree. Always be upfront with your customers and your backers. Let them know exactly where all of this is going to be available. And I understand exactly what you mean about undercutting the campaign. I feel like there should have been an exclusive cover for the campaigns. You know, you got the black and white, you got the color version, and those are just exclusive for that campaign. If you missed out on it, sorry. You know, that's part of the whole, you know, collector's thing. It's you know, the FOMO, obviously. But then have just a regular standard edition cover that you can put in comic shops, you can put on Amazon, that you can have everywhere, you can have at conventions, all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. And again, going to the whole thing with incentivizing action. So I have enough to print a lot of copies of issue 2.
Right.
Because that's why I set my goal. I set my goal at 4,000, and launching the worst month with a cheaper book still made the goal, which I'm very happy with. And then for the stretches, you know, I have, well, I guess we could go. Do you want to play the trailer first?
Yeah, actually, I do. And I agree, Morb. No Extra is still a good book. Different cover, a bit part is fine. I agree. But get your book out there and make sure that it's available wherever anybody wants to buy it.
I just want it to be like the Crusader Corps. Like my father. I thought with my new powers I could be. But I failed. I let everyone down. I got people hurt. I just wanted to make the world a better place. And instead I made things worse. But now I have the chance to make things right with the help of one of the Crusader Corps, the Phoenix Senshi. And I will. I have to. Whatever it takes. I will find that spark again.
It's high praise from Mike Barron.
Yeah, that's why. Well, when he told me,
hell yeah. Very Claremont era X-Men inspire for that cover.
See, you know what's funny is I don't think that was my artist has read that. It's just funny.
Really? Yeah.
Because I actually had a list of books, which it is like it did come out that way. I had a list of thumbnail ideas or list of cover ideas, and I'm about to give it to him because this was my cover idea from the very beginning when I started writing it as a comic book.
Right.
Very beginning, I knew this exact thing. I told my artist to draw it. He did. Perfect. This time I was like, I had a huge list, and I was like, maybe I'll save these for either some of the variants or I'll tell him it. But I go, you know what? Because there were multiple times throughout writing the book that he came up with something cooler than what I had in mind. I was like, what are you picturing? I go, well, let's design the training uniform he has in issue 2 first. He goes, no need. He goes, here's what the idea for the cover is. He goes, like, they're going to have her, like, basically ready to slay the version from issue 1. And I'm like, that is so much cooler than what I had in mind. I'm not even going to send you my list. And he drew this cover, and I was like, the thumbnail, and I was like, oh my God. And I sent it around to people, and so we were like, oh my God, that's almost like too violent. And there was like, yeah, but it gets your attention.
It gets the point across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
it reminds me of Extinction Agenda. You know, like the X-Men having, like, basically Archangel and Wolverine having to fight in that pit. Yeah. You know, but that's what that kind of reminds me of. So I mean, that's great storytelling. I mean, again, this is why you hire, you know, the artists that you do. You hire somebody that knows what they're doing and is going to help you bring this story to life, breathe life into it, you know. So yeah, I dig this cover. I think that's a good choice for the main cover.
And we
got variant cover here.
Yeah, we got so this was the first comic I worked on. I was an editor on a book called Hunter Ninja Bear. The artist of that book was Mel Ruby, and I've wanted to work with Mel forever. And there's a ninja chick in that book, and there's a ninja chick in here. I'm like, this is let's get right into it. Hired Mel, he killed it. I was like, here are the 4 characters. If you could include them, great. He does it, nails it. And he actually, I like, because we were still designing the characters, he ended up having to do some stuff. He played a role in the training uniform colors, and God bless him, he did the revisions, and it just came out amazing. So all, like, the superhero-esque characters are all on that cover. Like this is a
Yeah, I dig all these covers. I mean, I told you that when you sent them to me.
Yeah.
You know, there's some really good iconography with these covers. So
Yeah, that one was supposed to be like almost like a pinup kind of cover.
right.
I had chick on it. I was like, I'll get 1/3 cover. Why not? Now this guy had drawn Vampirella, and he's about to do. He just did the Holiday special actually.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a cool grad, and I met him at a con. I was like, I actually wanted him to draw the character Hotline. And then he sent me the thumbnail I had in mind of all the female characters. And then he sent me just this as a thumbnail with the 2 female characters on there. And I was like, you know what? Don't even bother drawing the character I hired you to draw. This is so much cooler. Again, letting the artists, I'm getting better at just kind of letting, like, I still give direction, but I was like, you know what? Actually, let's put Galvanite on the scale since he's going to be training with her, and let's have her higher up. This is perfect. This is great storytelling. And that's another thing I'm big on is I like a pinup can be fine, I guess, but there's storytelling that's relevant to the content of the issue in all these covers.
And that I think that's a thing that's kind of gotten lost with some covers in comics these days. Like, yes, it's a cool image and it's eye-catching, which is crucial for a cover, but I am of the opinion that the cover should have something to do with the interior of the book. It should touch on the story. It should be part of the story. Even variant covers, I feel like, should take an aspect of the story and bring it to the cover and make it eye-catching.
And they all do. Dawn, I gave him the script, and he was
that's cool.
Here's some ideas, and he goes, "No, I'm going to draw him meditating with the lightning." And he actually kind of changed the costume design a bit, but he's like, "I can change it." I was like, "No!" Like he added the little lightning bolt on the Phenomenova symbol.
Nice.
Like, no, you know what? Just keep it. And then my back cover artist liked it so much that he put it on the back cover.
Yeah. Vaughn, let's see. Alex VRB says, Vaughn, tell Luke about Galvanite's sidekick, USB D cups. Listen, when the artist wants to draw big titty chicks, you don't say no.
Alex, that's the opposite of what happened, though. What happened was I was like, draw this character as a center, and he didn't. He drew that character, ended up not being on the cover. But to make up for it, that character is on a trading card that everyone gets when they back the campaign.
Well, there you go.
So then the back cover right there. The back cover was grayscale. It was Bobby did an homage to Bloodstrike #1 with issue.
Yes.
And
rub the blood.
With this cover, we ended up doing it. So we're 2 for 2. We might keep doing grayscale covers. He came up with this idea, and he ended up adding that P lightning bolt. So I was like, you know, why not?
That's cool, man. I love black and white comics. There's something that just feels so indie about black and white comics. I mean, granted, color comics are great too. Colorists are awesome. You know, I know several fantastic colorists, but there is something so, I don't know, pure, I guess, about a black and white indie comic, in my opinion. It could just be from my years and years of reading, you know, black and white indie comics in the 90s, you know, Poison Elves and such like that. So, but, you know, the colors on the interior of the book are great, man. You know, you got a good colorist here.
Yeah, I was going to add my favorite page was actually briefly, I was showing it off, but I'm like, I'm not going to put on the campaign page because I want you guys to read it in the book.
Right.
So guys, because this is a shorter book than issue 1. It's 24 pages that I want to be my standard length going forward. Now I'm breaking it immediately after establishing it with issue 3 because issue 3 is going to be a very action-packed. I'm going to introduce a ton of heroes and villains in issue 3. So I decided to give my artist more room to draw them.
Right. Well, see, and that is one of the beautiful things about being independently published, doing your own thing, is that you can give the story room to breathe where it needs. You know, you don't have to write for the trade, as it were. You don't have to try to put in a bunch of filler content to just make it so, oh, we have 5 issues to put into a trade paperback down the line. You can actually let the story dictate how it needs to be told, which, you know, is a much better way to tell these stories instead of, you know, trying to force it into a shape. So you got the creative team here, and you got a fan art contest going on.
I do.
How long is the fan art contest going to be going?
I'm figuring it out, but I might, because this is a fast turnaround time. So for context, all I need to do is offer some revisions on the letters, like with editor notes.
Yeah,
it's fully lettered, the issue. We're just doing some final revisions. I have to have a graphic designer to do like basically my credits page and stuff like that, format the book. We're in like the final stages, and then also marketing. So for that reason, it's going to be a fast turnaround with this book, which means a fast turnaround time for the fan art contest.
Right. So limited amount of time. So
the winner ended up being able to draw. I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing this, but he ended up being able to draw a stretch goal trading card for issue 1.
There you go.
We talk fairly often. I keep an eye on you if you submit, even if you don't end up winning.
Right.
Keep an eye on you, and you always, he got in the back of the book and a free copy of the main cover to the winner of the art.
Well, there we go.
So, there's no reason not to. You could you'll be able to sign the book for any time it's got to you because you're in the book.
Right.
Not to submit, and I'll retweet you. Whatever. So use Phenomenal fan art. Any character initially was going to be issue 2 related characters because it comes in issue 2. But I'm like, people are excited about issue 1. Draw whatever Phenomenova characters you want.
Right.
If you
Alex VRB kind of giving us an insight into one of his fetishes. Apparently, he likes it when she slaps Miles. That was kind of hot. But which side of the face is she slapping? I think Alex just wants to be slapped.
Yeah, I think so too.
Morb says Luke knows curves. Enough said. I'm a big fan of curves, especially dangerous curves. Eric the
Golden, are you talking?
Huh?
You talking Michael Golden?
Well, I'm just talking about curves in general.
Oh, okay. Because he did something like that.
Golden is fantastic.
You know that, right?
I did not, but I was given this amazing gift of Michael Golden's Marvel Stories, this artist edition by Fraga. And I love this book. It is just fucking gorgeous. Inspirational doesn't even do it justice.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get Michael to do a cover at some point. I'm not sure what issue yet. It would depend, but
that would be a heck of a get, man. I hope you do.
Oh, I can. Well, I mean, I'll be.
Yeah, just talk to him. He likes drawing comics. Clearly. Eric the Guapo says a art contest. Yes, that means you can enter. You might win. What's up, Duke? Good to see you, man. Dukester. How you doing, Derek? Welcome. Let's see. Vaughn likes it when men submit. Confirmed. That might be a little projection there, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
But you got a limited amount of time to get your fan art in for the contest. Can be any character from Phenomenova. Doesn't necessarily have to be Galvanite.
But you can join the email list, follow me on all socials, and you'll be able to be notified when the fan art contest ends. So I'm guessing most people are familiar with the impetus of the story, where the story came from. But go ahead and talk about where the story came from real quick. Yeah,
got a dedication to your dad here.
Well, that's my uncle.
Oh, that's your uncle.
Yeah, so the first one was dedicated to my dad, the second to my uncle. So,
okay.
Phenomenova, I already had the idea in my head. And when I'm writing it, I did a few things.
Yeah.
The character felt like he was missing something.
Right.
And I also was like, well, why did I like superheroes so much? What really, and I thought back and it's like, when I was a kid, I was 2 years old. I lost my dad in 9/11. And around that time, I start getting into superheroes. And there's something about like them taking their tragedy, like when Spider-Man loses Uncle Ben or when Bruce loses his parents or Superman loses his planet, and taking those tragedies and using it to make the world a better place so other people don't suffer like you do. And I think subconsciously or even consciously that, and it wasn't even just superhero stories, Star Wars, they always resonated with me. And I was like, well, that's, kind of my origin story. The character's already, inspired by me. And I'm like, well, why am I not including this crucial detail? So I changed it to make it make sense with the story. So it's not a one-to-one.
Right.
There's a character based on my dad who the main character loses in issue 1. My world is set 20 years after World War III, so I made him a World War III veteran.
Right.
Also, my dad would have thought that was cool. So, so that was what I did. And then so my dad and my uncle both worked at the World Trade Center, and I wanted to include my uncle somehow in issue 1, but it just didn't work to follow the story. It felt like it was kind of distracting from the flow of the first however many pages. So I was like, issue 2, let's see if I could find a way. If I can't, I can't. But I would love to, especially because my uncle didn't get to have kids. I'd love to give him some kind of, not saying you want to have a legacy, but more. Like the same treatment my dad, but I was like, well, it has to make sense to the story. So I kind of
course,
the idea, and I put it here. It's if I come up with the character based on him, great, or some way. And as I'm rewriting issue 2, suddenly I find a spot where I'm like, this fits thematically with everything I'm writing. Actually, it enhances the themes. Perfect. There we go. Issue 2 is dedicated to my Uncle Scott. So
awesome. And so is this the character Golden Gallant? Is that based on your uncle?
That's totally unrelated. That was a 20K stretch goal for issue 1 that we didn't hit, and I was like, well, I'm using this for the day.
This is badass artwork. You got to use it somewhere.
Yeah. So if you backed issue 2 day 1,
mm-hmm.
You got that. That is very limited. The Golden Gallant is kind of like the ultimate. He's literally. I was gonna have a Superman-like character, and I'm like, that's boring. Let's do. He's a literal angelic golden knight in shining armor who was fought in World War III, and I'm like, there we go.
Okay.
So that's who Golden Gallant is. He's like the gold standard of superheroes in our world. And
right.
You got that trading card if you backed issue 1. Now people are already requesting a prequel story set during World War III, which I'd happily do, but let's see how well Phenomenova does. And I would love to greenlight it, and I will eventually. It's a matter of how soon is that eventually.
Right.
So just like with we're prioritizing issue 3 over that, but I'd love to have a different artist working on Crusader Corps while I'm doing. Like if I crowdfund multiple projects at once, it would be because I'm working on them at once and plan on getting to,
absolutely.
Crusader Corps funds go to Crusader Corps, Phenomenova funds go to Phenomenova, or different artists. So that way it's not like they're distracting. It'll be like I've written this one, and
that way you can do it concurrently. Yeah,
right. So
it's a good sign that people are asking for it, though. That means they're invested in the characters and they're curious about the history of this world that leads up to the current series. So I mean, that's a good sign. That's a good start. To be fair,
I already planned it. I had always planned on doing Crusader Corps, but it seems like people really want it. Like the first thing I was asked, like when it got in people's hands, when are we getting this? I'm like, oh. Keep asking. Keep showing me you're interested.
Keep building the world that you're currently building. That'll just whet the appetite for more. And make people want to know. And then you'll have an audience built in for that when you release it. I got to say, I really like the design, the graphic design for the cards. Especially the back here. The back definitely reminds me of like the old Marvel cards, especially with the fun fact.
I added that because I wanted to do more writing. Like people put stats and stuff. I was like, that seemed like to me like a chore personally. I know some people love. No, I'm saying like for me, I think it's cool to see it. But I was thinking about what I enjoy. I was like, I'd rather write some stuff that I couldn't include in the issue.
Right.
So you get some extra stuff, some extras, because I'm a writer. If I can't write as many books a year as I want because I'm crowdfunding, because I'm at least let me do that extra bit of writing in these trading cards. And so that's what I do. I give a little extra backstory, a little extra fun fact that isn't in the issue itself.
See, when I was a kid, my dad and I would go to the comic shops, and we would literally buy a box of cards to get the whole set. So cards like this were intrinsic to my comic book buying habit when I was a kid, and you would get all kinds of little extra cool stuff, and it just added to the world of these characters. It added like the fun fact, and I think that's a great way to do it. It not only are people getting a nice little extra thing that they won't be able to get elsewhere in the campaign with the card, but it also gives them more information. It adds to the story. It adds to the character. It adds to the world. It's a little extra tidbit of world building that, you might not get elsewhere. I think it's a great idea, man. I think it was a good choice.
And not to let anyone down who's submitting for graphic design, we're sticking with that design layout with the trading card. I just have to have someone else fill in my writing for issue 2 and on, because that writing. So that was the same guy who did the Rebel Oasis logo and the credits pages and all of that.
Awesome.
Did the layout for this, and that was Bobby Chrysopoulos. He also did the back covers. So
right on.
And then everyone gets this trading card right here.
USB-D.
Yes. Yeah. So that's Hotline. Is the name of this character.
Hotline. Okay, got it.
So I had the character was kind of boring when I was like the Indian tech support chick, and then I was like, I need a new. Let's make her hot. Let's do something. Let's do something interesting. And then I came up with the name Hotline. I was like, that's perfect. And I had a friend, Sukeisha Ray, who actually did one of the covers for issue 1. I was like, can I base her off of you visually? She's like, oh my god, I'd love that. So
there you go, man.
Yeah. So that
basically hot Oracle. I mean, not that
Oracle's,
this wasn't ever hot, but yeah.
But yeah, hotline, and so that, and then if we hit 10K, and that includes across all campaigns. So if you're like, I want to back Indiegogo, I want to back, it doesn't matter. If a combined goal across all campaigns, you're all working together. If we hit 10K, everyone gets this trading card right here by Julia Lenihan. So she came up with, I just was like, the Phoenix Senshi, you see a lot of her backstory. So she fought during World War III, and now she's training him in the present. So you also see a bit of her childhood. You see a bit of her in the war. And I was like, you can pick kind of like how Galvanite has his debut costume trading card.
Right.
Pick her from any point in the history that's in issue 2 and draw something. And she came up with that. So that is her during the war. But she did like what she did with this card, because she was like, can I use like old school, like Japanese painting mixed with like, and I was like, that sounds amazing.
I dig it.
And she was sending me reference images of what she wanted to do. I was like, go for it. And she just killed it. So,
you know what it kind of reminds me of? The old school Final Fantasy artwork, like the concept artwork for the old school Final Fantasy games.
Language.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, she did the Final Fantasy VII homage cover for issue 1.
Fuck yeah, dude. That explains it. Yeah, she's got good instincts then. That's, the kind of, you can't see my cursor, but the kind of there we go. Kind of watercolory look of the mountains behind. I mean, the whole ethereal feel of it. I think it's fucking great, man. I really dig this image. The color choices are wonderful, but yeah, it really puts me in the mind of the old school artwork that they would do, the concept artwork they would do for the Final Fantasy games.
So that will come, and again, and then I want to make Rebel Oasis stickers, and I was like, you know what? I already want to make it, but if you guys get a certain tier, you guys will get the Rebel Oasis. I was like, I want these for conventions anyway. It seems like people will probably want them. Otherwise, well, I make it for myself, to be frank, but it's like people are probably going to want that. So I'm like, if we hit 15K, everyone gets Rebel Oasis stickers. And then 20K is me basically saying we're getting right to our full force on issue 3.
Right on, man. That's laid out. That's laid out great.
I was like, maybe I'll do another reward. I'm like, no, your reward is getting right in. That's the reward.
Heck yeah. It's fucking fantastic, man. And straightforward to the point campaign. I like it. You got plenty of options on here. I mean, obviously you got the main issue, 2 covers. Let's see. I'm scrolling all the way up to the top here. So $5 gets you the digital version of the book of issue 2. That way, if you just want to read it, or you're overseas and don't want to pay the fucking exorbitant shipping fees, because we know that's a little bit ridiculous right now, you can get the digital version and read the book. Digital catch-up.
Thing. It's available digital, and you could also read issue 1 on Global Comics right now. You can even read the first 10 pages there. You could get a PDF there, whatever you decide. Yeah.
I think that's a great, again, multiple avenues for people to get a hold of the book and to be able to pick it up, read it, and, buy your book from you. Give them options. I think this is a great idea. Digital catch-up tier, get both of them. $10 for 2 comics, and you got 24 for the second issue. How many pages were in the first issue? Was it a 48 pager?
It was 68, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Story. Yeah, it was going to be like 3 issues that I mashed together.
So $10 for like 80 pages. I mean, you're not even going to find that in a comic shop. Yeah. And the quality here is obviously better.
That's digital, of course. But
yeah, of course. Yeah. Phenomena issue 2 down to the core physical copy, $10. 1 physical copy of Phenomenova down to the core, along with the cover of your choice. So you get to choose which cover you want. $10 for the physical book. $30 gets you the physical catch-up, so you get issue 1, and then you get to choose your cover for issue 2. That's fantastic, man.
And then I have like any combination you can get with these 5 covers. So it's like the main cover for issue 1, and the 4 covers issue. And I decided initially on my first campaign it was 20 for the main, 25 for each variant. And I was like, well, actually, you know what? It made it simpler for Fun My Comics format, but I also ended up going, because I was going to make it like 15 and 10. And I was like, no, let's just sell as many variants as we can on the campaign. They're all the price because you're backing on the campaign this time.
Yeah.
And,
but that means
higher price after the fact.
I was about to say, you get them for this unique campaign price, but you may not be able to get them for that same low price after the campaign's over. more incentive to pick it up here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. Let's see. 3 copies of Phenomenova issue 2. That's awesome. So you can get all 3 covers. Well, I guess you got 4. You got 4 covers, so you can get 3 of the covers, and you can get all the covers, every single one of them, all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, for $40. That means that's $10 an issue.
Yes,
that's
$10.
That's it. Let's see, all issue 2 covers and the catch-up. So you get issue 1 and all 4 covers of issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
Rock and roll. Okay, if you just want 2 issues, I mean, you got multiple choice here.
Mm-hmm.
This is great, man. Like you were saying, every combination that people could want, they can get here. 2 of every cover of issue 2, 2 of everything, including issue 1, and then the VIP tier.
Yeah, I always throw 500 and 1,000. If you never know, like I got people to get them on issue 1, which is very lucky. You never know. Like if someone does it,
hey, shop, man. You know, these are basically retailer tiers. You know,
yeah, I didn't have a retailer tier for issue 2. I forgot to put that. Shoot.
Well, I mean, that's essentially what these are.
Well, if a retailer reaches out to me, they can,
Yeah, absolutely. I think going forward, I think a lot of indie creators are going to have to, assuming comic shops don't just up and disappear, which I don't think they will, because a lot of shops, I've seen a lot of new shops opening that don't carry new issues. And now that Diamond has
that's crazy,
done what they've done, it's going to be an opportunity for independent creators to have to do what they had to do back in the 80s. They had to call shops. They had to try to figure out a way to get their books in shops. I know it's a lot more legwork. It's a lot easier to go to conventions, a lot easier to put it up online, do crowdfunding and stuff like that. But the old methods still work. You can still call shops. Do that more. And who knows? Maybe further on down the line, we might have somebody that actually sets up a distribution company for indie comics, making it easier for comic shops to find indie books and get them into their shops. One-stop shop. That was the beauty of Diamond. That's because it was so convenient. The problem is that it kind of became a monopoly, and it was a choke point for the industry. That's why when they basically just shut down the entire industry, when they decided they weren't going to ship books that they had already been paid for with the product that was already there, they just kind of basically shut down the entire industry. And I think that was their death knell. I think that's literally what killed them, in my opinion. I think that was a poor choice, and unfortunately, it seems they're paying for it. So, it's shaking up the landscape. I do believe that there are going to be shops that still sell old books, and if there's a way for new indie books to get into those shops and make it easy for those retailers, that's a whole new avenue. So I fully believe the future looks bright. We just got to keep creating. The best thing we can do is to keep making things, keep creating, and keep pushing forward. And because quite obviously, people are hungry for good stories. I mean, look how well manga sells. Why does manga sell so well? Because they're stories. People want to read it. They're excited to read it. We need to build the same thing over here
because they don't know it exists. Like I had people who were like, "This is my first comic," that bought it from me. That's special, and I want to get awesome. I put it in Jay and Silent Bob's when I was there. There's a few other shops I want to put it in. I've just been so busy with so many other things. I would love to go around every shop near me and do that. But for now, we'll see. Like conventions, though, are very good. I'm very happy with how I'm doing it.
I mean, conventions are great, man. Being able the technology that we have to be able to communicate, across the country, across the world, being able to talk face to face like this is fantastic. Being able to connect with our customers directly via the internet is fantastic. But there is something to be said. Human beings are social creatures. We're social animals. We need to have interaction. We need to talk to people. Being able to see somebody in person, talk to them, shake their hand, look them in the eye, actually, get excited about the story that you're telling, get excited about the product that you're selling to them. They're going to pick up on that. That is the best way to get people to be excited about what you're doing, what you're making. So I fully believe that conventions are going to be even more pertinent to our business model going forward. We're going to have conventions. We're going to have crowdfunding. And those are both direct to consumer avenues to sell our comics.
Absolutely. And real quick, I also want to say the best way to guarantee you get a first printing of Phenomenova issue 1 is either, well, conventions, who knows how fast those will sell.
Right.
But the best way to guarantee it right now that you 100% get a first printing of issue 1 if you didn't get it is to go to my website and we'll ship it right to you.
There you go.
Rebel Oasis Studios. So that is the best way to guarantee it. But if you get back issue 2, you know, depending on how fast the first printing sells out, you might get a first printing of issue 1. You might not.
Right.
You'll get issue 1. You'll get it the same print quality, but it may not be a first printing. So if you want to guarantee that, that's the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Up to you how you decide to go about it. Either way, you know, money's green. So I don't care if you're buying the book. I don't care what print. I don't care if you get the first printing. I don't care what printing you get. Just
as long as you get the
book.
You
do.
Yeah. Exactly. If you're a collector and you're looking for that first printing, then make sure you go to Vaughn's website and get them while they're still available.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Derek, I totally understand. LCSs are they're having a rough time, and the margins on comic shops are razor thin anyway, and it's sometimes hard for them to take a chance on a book that they don't know.
Yes.
Maybe go to local shops that are near you. Go talk to the owners.
Yeah, especially if you're friendly with them. Like I'm blessed to be near what is some people say is the most famous comic shop in the world, like Jane Silent Box. That's my LCS. Oh yeah. So they were like, "Yeah, of course, Vaughn, we'll take your books." You know, because
that's awesome, man. That's fantastic.
For years, so it's like, yeah. So I'm lucky in that capacity. But
building a rapport with your local shop helps in that regard. But I totally understand your choice to stay away from LCSs. Alex BRB says, thankfully, we're not dependent upon them as a sole point of purchase either. That is correct. Yeah. Global Comics, Somewhere Digital, I think it's a great idea. I'm so glad that there are services like that for people to be able to read all kinds of stuff. That's a good avenue. Again, we can use all of these avenues. You know, you got to explore them, find out which ones work best for you. Derek says, I made it into 2 local shops, but they only sold 1. A third shop would only take 1 copy. Again, it all depends on, you know, it all depends on what they sell and how well they know their customers. You know, some comic shops, they really know their customers and they can help people find cool stuff to read, you know, and other times they kind of don't really pay attention. So you gotta make sure that you have a rapport with your regular comic shop. What's up, our Luniverse? Thank you for coming to join us. Appreciate it. Conventions are where it's at, Derek.
Yes,
absolutely, man. Yeah,
you have to learn to be a salesman, though. A lot of people just set up and expect people to come to their. And
nope.
Say no.
You gotta be a carnival baka.
Yeah, that's what I am. That's what I learned when I would table. I was an artist sales assistant with Michael Golden. I would have to be selling this, bringing people to him. That was my job, and because I spent like over a year doing that. I was ready to, when I set up. I'm like, I know what to do. I know what sells. And the fact of the matter is, there's no exact science, but there is. You have to keep doing it. Some shows you'll really like. My first show, I'm surprised it wasn't a huge comic audience, but something about people just liked my covers. They like what I was doing, and
awesome
stuff. You know.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about it. You never know what's going to hit. So you gotta, or when it's going to hit, you got to keep tabs on it. You know, just pay attention. Pay attention to what people look at your table, what they pick up, what they are drawn to, where their eyes go. That'll tell you what the audience is looking for. What's up, Michael? Good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing well, man. I got to meet Michael at Heroes Con, which was a lot of fun. I mean, you were there.
Well, telling me like I wasn't there.
I was about to say, wait a minute. I distinctly remember talking to you at
I will be
Heroes
there,
Con.
by the way. I'll have a table. I'll be there.
Awesome. I will be there with Shattermare. We'll be promoting the first issue of Mercenary Guild. And Feline will be there with me as well. You know, she's my backup. She's going to have some cool shit there, too. So yeah, Heroes Con is going to be a hell of a lot of fun this year. I am very much looking forward to it.
And again, for those of you that are backers, so you can at least get the Rini cover and the Sukeisha cover signed, and obviously I'll sign it because Sukeisha is going to be there too. And I also should be able to sign your issue 2s because issue 2 will be out by then. I'm hoping to have it. I'm hoping to have it issue 3 crowdfunding by that time. That's my hope. Now, whether it happens depends on how well issue 2 does.
Right.
Campaigns, but so far it's doing pretty well, especially the trajectory I've had in January. I'm very, very, happy with that.
Fantastic to hear, man. I'm super stoked for you.
Yeah.
Luniverse says I look for high adrenaline action and gripping drama. Well, I think you're going to get all of the above with Phenomenova.
Exactly. The stuff is important. I don't like reading stuff that's action. Then I go, what was the character's name again?
Right.
I hate that. I hate that so much. And again, that was why part of me was afraid, because issue 2 is a slower issue compared to issue 1.
Yeah.
But it has a fair amount of action too. But there's dialogue. But here's the thing: Mike Barron likes my dialogue, so I'm kind of like, all right, scratch that complaint off. All right, that's
there you go.
Mike Barron told me, he was like, send me a copy of your book. We'll do a book swap. And I was like, okay. I sent it to him. He goes, I like your book. And I was like, can I get a quote from you then?
Right? Yo, you want to go on record saying that you like my book? Please? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mike's great. I love that dude.
He gave me some good advice and everything. Yeah. Dialogue is one of the things that people tell me. So Matt Yackey goes by my table and just
speaking of people that I love. What's up, Yackey? Good to see you. Always be closing. That's right.
So he would go by my booth. I worked at Michael Golan's booth, and he would be like, "Oh, you're not doing a good enough job. You need to raise the sign." He does it every time. Well, now I'll be at my own booth.
Mm-hmm. Lord Lightning is a very memorable name. Sadly, that's not the one he went with.
All right, there's a story behind this. So I pitched that on Creative Block, and they all literally, like Hyper Wizard Jake, he just immediately started laughing when I was excited to say, my character's name is Lord Lightning. And then he just laughs, and I'm like, oh, I guess I have to change that. So in the book, there is a part where he is going through crossing off names on a list, and Lord Lightning is one of the names as a reference to that. His name is Galvanite, and Phenomenova is going to be the name of the team he's joining. I'm building up with the one character. Estrella, who's the blind girl, is the first member of the team you see. Senshi right there is the one training them, hotlines and tech support. And you're going to see the full team in issue 3. So
nice. Well, there you go.
Building up to it, because I was like, let's make sure the characters are in order before we do that.
Luniverse says, what are tips for good dialogue, realistic or dramatized?
Someone has asked me that. I don't know if there's exact science. I think some of it is intuitive, but I think a lot of it is. But to be fair, you do get better. I think pay attention to, like, one of the things that helped me is I would kind of listen to how my friends and I talk to each other when I was writing scenes with friends.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to the way people talk around you. Pay attention to the dialogue you like in books. Make sure the conversations, like, you want to convey the information while also keeping it natural. Read it out loud.
Yes.
Tell you how
crucial.
Some stuff even reads great on the page, but doesn't look good lettered, or doesn't read well out loud. And it's like, that's important. Make sure your characters have voices where it's like, because there are times where a character won't be on panel and they'll be talking. You want to make sure that we still know who's talking. Now, and again, I'm always saying it, but Claremont would do that. You would know if Rogue was talking, she'd be like, I'm thinking this. Banshee, oh, how are you doing? Like,
you could tell the characters apart by their patois.
Yeah, exactly.
The way they speak, their dialects, their patois. That's why I love fucking accents. You can pick up on patois. You listen to what people say, how they say it.
Like my editor, also send them to other people. My editor will be like, this character sounds too much like you. Or your characters are starting to bleed together. Oh, okay. Let me take a step back and really, how would they say it?
And that's where an editor is crucial.
Like, oh, you can start acting it out. And like, I would take time where I'd be like, well, this person kind of like Estrella kind of has like a grace to her. Almost so Estrella, the blind deaf girl, she sees the world, experiences it through psychometry, which means she feels and absorbs the memories of the world around her in real time.
Okay.
And so she talks like someone who understands everything, but she literally experiences reality in a way that's different from other people, but she picks up from people. So she learns from everyone around her, but she kind of has the own way how she carries herself.
Yeah.
And
that's fucking cool, man. Shelby says, I'm stalking Yankee. Is he here? You may have just missed him. I don't know.
So and Michael Rushbrook had a question, but Yeah, Alex also wrote a line that was in issue 1.
Yeah.
So
the chat doesn't speak French. I beg to differ, but you know what? We'll let it be.
I changed my 20K stretch goal where it was like a reveal all issue 2 covers. And I'm like, well, I can't guarantee that everyone makes that deadline by the time this one closes out because it's fast. As long as they make the campaign deadline, that's fine. So I changed it, which also means that the first people, like with issue 1, who see the issue 3 cover and all the characters on it, there are 3 characters on the main cover for actually 4 covers in the issue 3 cover that aren't in issue 2. So in a way, it's technically their first appearance. So yes, in a way. Also, there's the character based on my Uncle Scott that I decided not to put on the campaign. So you will see. There's a few characters, minor characters, but the major players of this issue you do see on the campaign page. But there's a few minor characters.
Awesome. So that all the more reason to go ahead and grab yourself a copy of issue 2. And if you missed the first issue, go ahead and grab a copy of issue 1. If you want that first printing, though, make sure you get it directly from Vaughn's website.
Yeah.
Yaki says not here anymore. Yep. See, sorry, Shelby. Think you just missed Yaki. This looks fantastic, man. This is awesome. It's good superhero comics, and the industry is in dire need of good superhero comics because we've been in a drought over the last decade or so.
And if you don't want, if you're sick of everything being cynical,
right?
If you're sick of everything being cynical and spiteful towards superheroes, this is not that. This is the opposite of that. I always say, in an age of deconstruction, this is a reconstruction and a reconstitution of the superhero genre.
I mean, if you keep deconstructing things, eventually you don't have anything to build with. You gotta build things up.
There is some deconstruction in this issue in the sense that we're taking apart what didn't work with Miles's approach in issue 1.
Right.
And now we have to, that's why this issue is called Down to the Core. Now he has to train and go down to the core and figure out the core of his powers and the core of his beliefs. And if he even still wants to be a superhero, if so, why? Why am I using these powers to risk my life to fight? That's what this is. It's kind of him distilling his essence. We kind of went into an issue 1, but in this issue, we're going a little bit further. I was like, we're not ready to see Phenomenova yet. Let's dive a little bit further into him. Then we can expand in issue 3.
Absolutely, and that's character arc. That's character progression. That's good stuff, and that's what people resonate with when they can go on an adventure with the character. That's the whole point of reading stories. We go on adventures with these characters, and if the characters are one-dimensional or flat or they're uninteresting, then why? I mean, you wouldn't want to go on a road trip with somebody you can't stand. Why would you want to read a story that's however many pages long if you don't like the characters?
That's the most important thing to me. Characters. Like, I'm willing to put certain things. You're willing to literally move stuff aside logically if it means the character arc needs to be at a certain point. That's the truth. Like, you want it all to be logically sound, but it's like, why does this character show up at this point in this time? That's a pretty big convenience. Yeah, you know what? Because the arc requires it, okay? And because you care. Do you want everything, like, to be explained to you, or do you want to care? And I do both as much as I can. I make sure my stories don't have plot holes and all that.
Right.
But you have to care. That's the most important thing. You have to care.
Exactly. They break Galvanite down and then do a Rocky montage. Exactly. That's it's character building. It's character growth. And please listen to the wise Feline. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. All that fun stuff, so you can catch more fun conversations like this. This is what I like to do here on this channel. I like to talk comics. Since I don't work in a comic shop anymore, this is how I get my fix, talking to my fellow nerds and creators. So I want to thank you all for being here. And Vaughn, thank you so much for coming to hang out, man. We've been going about an hour and 20 minutes. Is there anything any final thoughts you want to give about Phenomenova before we wrap this one up?
So make sure to back it soon, because we're moving along. Like I said, I learned some lessons from the first campaign. I closed out, and then I realized why I didn't make the deadline was because then I didn't factor in. I had to learn pre-press and all of that. So I'm hoping to make the deadline this time, but that means I'm going to be moving fast through all of that because we're basically done with the lettering and all of that. So, we're moving fast. So make sure you back it soon. Make sure you share it out. If you want Indiegogo, go ahead and go there. If you want Kickstarter, sign up there. If you want fund my comic. It's right there. I also have a YouTube channel. I've been making videos. I've been doing gameplay streams. I'm trying all sorts of stuff. I want to do more comic videos. So if you want more of me, if you like the way I talk and all of that, subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Links are in the description of this video, so you can find all that stuff. Michael Rushbrook says, "You got this, Vaughn."
Thank you.
Heck yeah, man.
Thank you.
Well, chat, you guys are amazing. Vaughn, this has been a blast, man. I always enjoy talking with you.
Same to you.
And guys, hit that link. Go grab yourself a copy. And if you missed the first one, go get the catch-up tier. And remember,
Shop smart, shop S-Mart.